Ladies and gentlemen, there is a secret, a profound truth that no one tells you. The moment you stop chasing approval, stop trying to impress, stop desperately grasping at the world, something remarkable happens. You become magnetic. People start watching. They whisper. They wonder, how did this happen? The world is addicted to validation, likes, comments, applause. We are trained like hungry dogs waiting for a reward. But let me ask you, who were you before the world told you who to be? That is the real you. That is where your power is. If you have ever felt lost, unappreciated, or like no one sees your worth, listen carefully. Because when you truly focus on yourself, when you invest every ounce of energy into your own being, you will rise so high that the very people who ignored you will have no choice but to watch in awe. The world teaches you to seek approval, to work hard, to be liked, to be accepted, but this is a game you cannot win, because the moment you rely on the opinions of others, you become their puppet. Look around. How many people are living lives they don't even enjoy just because society said they should? They trade their authenticity for acceptance. But here's the secret. When you stop needing approval, you become untouchable. There's nothing more powerful than someone who has mastered themselves. The person who doesn't chase but attracts. The person who doesn't beg to be seen, but whose presence demands attention. How do you become this person? By focusing on yourself so deeply that you no longer compare. You sharpen your mind, elevate your body, and cultivate your spirit. You don't compete with the noise of the world, you silence it. Distraction is the enemy of growth. Every moment spent worrying about others is a moment stolen from your own evolution. When you detach from drama, from comparison, from pointless validation, you gain a new level of clarity. Your energy becomes pure, your time becomes sacred, and your progress becomes inevitable. The irony? The less you try to impress, the more impressive you become. The moment you stop explaining yourself, people start questioning. The moment you stop chasing, the world turns its head. Success is not about showing off. It's about becoming so deeply aligned with yourself that success is merely a side effect. Every second spent envying another person is a second lost in your own journey. The past is a memory, the future is a dream, but this moment, this is where your power is. When you train your mind to focus fully on the now, on your own growth, everything shifts. You work with more passion, you move with more certainty, and suddenly effortless progress unfolds before you. And then it happens. The shift. One day you wake up and realize you no longer need the world to notice you. Because you have become so powerful, so undeniable, that the world has no choice but to take notice. That is, when they ask, how did you do it? And you will simply smile, because the answer was always there. You focused on yourself. And in doing so, you shocked everyone. Closing statement. So I ask you now, who will you be when you stop chasing and start becoming? Will you keep seeking approval? Or will you step into your own greatness? Because the moment you focus on yourself, the world will never see you the same way again. The world teaches us to seek approval as if it were a currency for self-worth. From the moment we are old enough to understand language, we are conditioned to chase validation through grades, through compliments, through the approval of peers and authority figures. Slowly, this craving becomes a silent master, dictating our actions, shaping our choices, and even defining how we see ourselves. We wear masks, adjusting them to fit whatever version of us is most acceptable in the eyes of others. But here's the truth no one tells you. Chasing approval is like running towards the horizon. No matter how fast you move, it will always remain out of reach. The more you need to be liked, the more you dilute yourself. The more you seek acceptance, the more you hand over control. You become a reflection of what others want rather than an embodiment of your own truth. And in that process, you lose the very thing that makes you powerful, your authenticity. There is an undeniable energy about those who no longer seek to impress. They walk into a room without needing to announce themselves. Yet their presence demands attention. They are free from the invisible chains of comparison and expectation. When you let go of the exhausting effort to be validated, you unlock a new kind of power. You no longer move with hesitation, but with certainty. You don't need to prove yourself because your presence alone speaks volumes. Most people spend their lives trying to fit into a mold they were never meant to occupy. They watch others, compare their progress, and measure their worth against external standards that were never designed with their uniqueness in mind. The more they chase, the more they lose themselves in the race. But the ones who truly succeed, the ones who shock the world, are those who abandon the need to compete and instead focus entirely on becoming the most refined version of themselves. When you stop looking sideways and turn your attention inward, an incredible transformation begins. You start to cultivate skills, knowledge, and an energy so powerful that it becomes impossible to ignore. The paradox of life is that those who focus on others remain ordinary, but those who focus on themselves become extraordinary. Excellence is never loud. It is the quiet mastery of one's own craft, the relentless dedication to self-improvement without the need for applause. When you stop worrying about whether people notice you and instead pour that energy into elevating yourself, something interesting happens. People start noticing, not because you demanded their attention, but because true growth cannot be hidden. It radiates. It speaks without words. And suddenly, the very people who once overlooked you find themselves drawn in, wondering what changed. But nothing changed. You just stopped seeking validation and became someone worth watching. The moment you shift from impressing others to mastering yourself, the world has no choice but to take notice. Distraction is the silent killer of progress. Every day, people waste their energy on things that have nothing to do with their growth. Scrolling endlessly through social media, obsessing over other people's lives, engaging in meaningless drama, and seeking approval from those who don't even matter. The more you invest in these distractions, the further you drift from your true potential. But when you learn to detach, to step away from the noise, from the opinions, from the unnecessary, the world begins to move differently around you. Suddenly, your time is no longer being drained by things that add no value. Your energy is no longer scattered across 100 different places. Instead, it is concentrated, powerful, unstoppable. Detachment does not mean isolation. It does not mean cutting yourself off from the world. It simply means refusing to let external forces dictate your direction. It means choosing to protect your focus like it is the most valuable thing you own, because it is. The most successful people are not those who are the most talented. They are those who are the most disciplined in guarding their energy. They do not waste time on what does not serve them. They do not engage in every argument, chase every opinion, or worry about being liked. Instead, they build, they refine, they grow. And in doing so, they elevate to a level where the world has no choice but to take notice. When you detach from distractions, you accelerate toward everything meant for you. Success is a paradox. The more you chase it, the further it seems to slip away. People spend their lives trying to impress, to be recognized, to prove themselves to the world, believing that validation will somehow bring them closer to fulfillment. But the truth is, the ones who rise the highest are not those who seek attention. It is those who become so consumed with their own growth that attention becomes an inevitable byproduct. The moment you stop obsessing over outcomes and instead focus on mastering your craft, your mind and your discipline, you begin to move differently. You stop making decisions based on how others will perceive you and start making them based on what truly aligns with your purpose. The world has a strange way of rewarding those who no longer need its approval. When you are desperate for validation, people sense it. It weakens your presence. But when you no longer need anyone's permission to be great, you become magnetic. Opportunities start appearing not because you forced them, but because you became the kind of person who naturally attracts them. This is the paradox of success. It does not belong to those who chase it, but to those who become so dedicated to their own evolution that success has no choice but to follow. The moment you stop seeking to impress and start seeking to improve, you set yourself on a path where the world watches in awe. wondering how you did it. There is immense power in mastering the present moment. Most people live either in the regrets of the past or the anxieties of the future, constantly pulled between what was and what could be. But real transformation happens when you realize that the only moment that truly exists, the only moment where you have any control, is right now. The mind is a restless thing, always wandering, always searching, always trying to escape the now. It tells you that happiness is somewhere in the future, that success is something to be chased, that fulfillment will come after you achieve a certain goal. But that is the great illusion. The future does not exist. It is merely a concept, a mental projection. And the past, it is nothing more than a memory, a story you continue to replay in your mind. The only thing that is real is this moment. And the person who masters it masters everything. When you bring your full attention to the present, you unlock an entirely new level of clarity. Your work becomes deeper, your focus becomes sharper, your progress accelerates, not because you are forcing it, but because you are fully engaged with what you are doing. This is why the most powerful people in the world move with such presence. They are not lost in thoughts of what could be, they are fully anchored in what is. And when you learn to do the same, the world will shift in ways you never imagined. There comes a point when everything changes, not because the world shifts, but because you do. When you stop seeking approval, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop wasting energy on things that do not serve you, something remarkable happens. You become an unstoppable force. No longer driven by external validation, you begin to move with a quiet, undeniable power. The same people who once overlooked you, the ones who doubted you, the ones who dismissed your potential, suddenly they start paying attention, not because you chased their recognition, but because you became impossible to ignore. The world respects results, not noise. While most people are busy talking, proving, and seeking attention, the ones who focus inward on their discipline, their skills, their mindset, are the ones who rise above. They do not need to announce their progress. Their transformation speaks for itself. And when that moment comes, when you reach a level where you no longer need to explain yourself, where your actions alone create impact, something else happens. People begin to wonder how you did it. They question, they analyze, they try to decode your success, but by then it is too late. Because you didn't succeed by seeking approval. You didn't rise by chasing validation. You shocked everyone simply by becoming the best version of yourself. And in the end, that is the greatest power of all, to evolve so completely that the world has no choice but to notice. And so the choice is yours. You can spend your life chasing approval, seeking validation, and trying to prove your worth to a world that barely notices. Or you can turn inward, focus on your own growth, and become so extraordinary that the world cannot ignore you. The moment you stop trying to impress and start trying to evolve, everything shifts. The distractions fade, the comparisons disappear, the noise of the outside world becomes irrelevant because you have found something greater yourself. And when you master that, when you commit fully to your own journey, you will shock everyone, not because you set out to, but because true power, true success, and true transformation come from within. Focus on yourself and let the results speak for you. The world will watch in awe, wondering how you did it, while you simply keep rising unstoppable.